Councillor Farmer, I think.
Thank you. Through the mayor, you might have to keep me to time for the process because I've got a lot to say about this. Notably, I just want to reflect some of what Councillor Hamley framed as our role as members of council. Public service, commitment to service not driven by financial gain, and that we are leaders who are here to set a good example and make decisions that benefit our community. It is just a fact that not everyone can afford the time and the resources to participate in municipal government to the extent that it is necessary. Several of us on council have kids, a couple of us are self-employed, some of us have other employment that allows us the flexibility or are paid enough in our employment or in our retirement to be able to afford both the time and the cost of participating around this horseshoe for what is at minimum 2 meetings a week with all the two meetings. It would have been great to have a couple weeks to prepare remarks, but I'm ad-libbing. We have at minimum 2 full council meetings every month. We sit on, respectively, between, 2 and 4 or 5 committees, depending on, the mayor more than that. And in order to appropriately prepare as informed leaders of our community, we need time to read the appropriate information, to respond to constituents, to ask questions, to be hopefully out in our community. And there are people who have perfectly good ideas, whose voices need to be represented around this horseshoe, who are in financial circumstances or in social circumstances where they could not afford the time off of work to participate in that way. Somebody told me an anecdote about a young councillor a few terms ago who partway through the first year had already used up all of their vacation days at work. Happily, they had an employment situation where they had vacation days. And if we as leaders of our community think that leadership also includes making space for people from lower socioeconomic brackets, and if we also think that it's not appropriate for us to give ourselves raises, then at the very least, I would hope that the motion might be amended friendly amended, to say that this should take place before the end of this council term, at least so that the optics of standing up for the constituents and being fiscally responsible still leave room for the opportunity of a committee of public members, pardon me, who volunteered their time to take part in a remuneration committee, can come back to us as a current council with a recommendation that says what is reasonable based on the amount of time that this role takes, what is reasonable for what other municipalities are being afforded. Should we include things like I don't know, is there the ability to expense childcare as part of your council expenses? If we don't have that, that would probably be good. That would probably make this more accessible. But otherwise, if we freeze acknowledging that the same people who would be financially constrained and who might not consider adding their voice or participating as an elected official in the next election are going to be looking at what is the financial remuneration of this position. Because it comes with a pretty big cost from not being able to go to the dog park if people recognize you and want to talk about things, to having your grocery shopping with your kids when you're trying to do the shopping before hockey practice is done, your grocery shopping interrupted by someone who wants to yell at you for a decision that you made. There is a cost to this position, and it should be compensated fairly. And I agree that we do not want the only motivator for serving as an elected official to be financial, but if we're not at least asking the question of, is remuneration adequate, then we can't make sure that we are creating a circumstance in which we as leaders in the community doesn't mean we who have the financial means or the other social supports to sit around this horseshoe and be informed and engaged. It's just not, from my perspective, it's not leadership or responsible to say that you have to be rich in order to serve on council, rich or retired, or have enough of an income or other support in your household to be here. And I don't know what the right amount of money is. I was really hoping a remuneration committee would say that. I would totally be on board, again, friendly amendment if you'll take it, to have something take place before the next term of council so that we're not raising our own wages at a time of great fiscal tightening and inflation and all the other buzzwords that we're all more than well aware of. But if we're closing the door now, then we're also closing the door for the next term of council to have the possibility of being more representative. And that, for me, is not leadership. That is not responsible. And to preemptively say, I already know the answer to a question that hasn't been asked yet, is disingenuous, in my humble opinion. I will be voting against this very sudden motion.
Thank you. Others?